I can't speak of what I do as works or things isolated from one another. I think there's only one overall project which has taken temporal dimensions equivalent to my own life. This project asks what can't survive, what leaves no trace, but it does so through a paradox: the deployment of matter over the world. The support and collaboration of my family is an essential part of my practice. What began with my brother in our fantasy games then grew into the transformation of my parents' house into my studio or workshop while I was at art school. I would invade our tiny home, taking over the kitchen, dining table, and living area, every habitable space except my parents' bedroom, without a single word of reproach from my family, and in fact, both my mom and dad often helped in physical work of making. This familial shared time and space while making something together would become an intrinsic part of my work. It was through the making of the whale in Ushuaia, with the first team of collaborators outside of my family, that I shaped a new nomadic way of making and working on site, using only the tools we could carry in our bags and clay. Clay is basically earth, sedimentation of layers and layers of life and death on earth. We were molding with fragments of the planet. The whale changed everything, and we spent the next decade working and traveling together, something like an itinerant theater company that wanders around the world, building and dismantling temporary workshops with new people we've met along the way. I always had the conviction that what we were taught to produce in art school shouldn't last forever. I understood that the only sculpture that interested me was our own species, which is certainly both entropic and degradable. The eventual disappearance of my sculptural products makes the interface evident. Behind them is the human hand, the action of the human being on Earth. More than site-specific projects, I'm devoted to site-specific thought. This involves a deep and sustained dialogical exchange with a variety of agents, human and non-human, organic and inorganic, human-made or machine-made. Weather is a molding force. Earth and its geological histories are molding forces. My making of things is aware of these forces working far beyond me and my team, and all other human agents. And my projects are closer to a never-ending doing or mutation than to a done or finished passive artwork situation. I've increasingly found myself quite uncomfortable with vocabulary that draws a clear line between content and container, artwork and art space. I decided to radicalize the deconstruction of this ontological difference. I am interested in every square centimeter of a space. Things as seemingly meaningless as the electrical outlets, cables, overlooked areas, or unpainted walls. Because for me, everything generates meaning. When I take care of these variables, I call it housekeeping. Housekeeping is a type of labor that enables other types of labor and life to happen. And this is a quality I am interested in and that I want to embody. I want to cooperate with my hosts and allow them to use me as a platform for transformation. I want my work to become an avatar for doubts about the highly Western colonial project of the museum and its apparent function to save, gather, and present culture, in order to trigger a wider exchange with local communities, agents, materials, and geographies, as well as histories of the life of our planet that span beyond our tiny little presence. I am trying to create something that is profoundly and earnestly rooted in the place where it is crafted. And I don't want to be naive, this may be impossible. But I'm assuming as much risk as I can to produce such a process that remains topographically and chronologically specific, as an irreproducible experience.